most expensive construction mistakes in the world. From building collapses to design flaws, these mistakes have cost companies and governments billions of dollars. Hello everyone, welcome back to Cabins Luxury. Today we're going to talk about some of the most expensive construction mistakes in the world. So, let's dive in and take a closer look. First on our list is the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. This suspension bridge was built in Washington State in 1940. Unfortunately, the designers didn't take into account the fact that the bridge would be subject to high winds. As a result, the bridge began to oscillate violently in winds as low as 40 miles per hour. Eventually, on November 7, 1940, the bridge collapsed into the river below. The cost of rebuilding the bridge was $6.4 million at the time, which is equivalent to over $100 million in today's dollars. Millennium Tower, San Francisco. Next up is the Millennium Tower in San Francisco. This luxury high-rise building was completed in 2009 and quickly became one of the most sought-after addresses in the city. However, it was soon discovered that the building was sinking and tilting at an alarming rate. It turns out that the builders had not properly anchored the building to the bedrock below. As a result, the building has sunk 18 inches and tilted 14 inches. The cost of fixing the problem is estimated to be over $500 million. Another construction mistake that cost a fortune was the Montreal Olympic Stadium. Built for the 1976 Summer Olympics, this stadium was originally supposed to cost $134 million. However, due to a number of design and construction flaws, the final cost was over $1.47 billion. The most notable problem with the stadium was the roof, which was made of Kevlar and had a retractable design. Unfortunately, the roof was prone to tears and eventually replaced with a fixed roof that cost an additional $200 million. The Sydney Opera House. It is another example of a construction mistake that cost a fortune. The building was originally supposed to cost $7 million and take 4 years to build. However, due to design flaws and construction delays, the final cost was $102 million, and the project took over 14 years to complete. One of the main design flaws was the use of tiles on the roof. The tiles were supposed to be self-cleaning, but they ended up absorbing pollutants and became discolored. The cost of replacing the tiles was over $100 million. Moving on, let's talk about the Big Dig in Boston. This was a massive highway construction project that aimed to improve traffic flow through the city. The project included the construction of a 3.5-mile tunnel and the relocation of several highways. However, the project was plagued by design flaws, construction delays, and cost overruns. The final cost of the project was $15 billion, which is more than 5 times the original estimate. Galloping Gertie, the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. One of the most infamous construction mistakes in history is the collapse of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge, also known as Galloping Gertie. The bridge was built in 1940 in Washington State at the cost of $6.4 million, which would be equivalent to over $126 million today. The design of the bridge included large beams of carbon steel anchored in concrete blocks, a departure from the open trusses used in previous bridges. During construction, the bridge began to move vertically in windy conditions, but the workers continued to follow the design. When the bridge was opened to the public, it quickly gained notoriety for its galloping motion, which earned it the nickname Galloping Gertie. Sadly, just 4 months after opening, the bridge spectacularly collapsed into the water below due to aeroelastic fluttering caused by the new design. The collapse of Galloping Gertie is a sobering reminder of the importance of proper design and engineering in construction projects. It is also a testament to the power of wind and how it can affect the stability of structures. In the aftermath of the collapse, engineers and architects learned a valuable lesson about aerodynamics and vibration that have informed the design of bridges ever since. Demolition Derby, the abandoned buildings of Kunming. In China's Yunnan province, the capital city of Kunming is home to a group of 15 high-rise buildings owned by Yunnan Hong Real Estate. The buildings, which cost approximately $156 million to construct, were left unoccupied for 8 years due to the volatility of China's property market. In September 2021, the buildings were finally demolished, resulting in one of the most expensive construction mistakes in history. The demolition of the buildings cost $8.7 million and required a team of over 500 people to complete. The reason for the demolition was the poor quality of the construction, which had deteriorated significantly during the 8 years of neglect. the buildings were deemed unsafe and posed a risk to nearby residents, necessitating their demolition. The abandoned buildings of Kunming are a cautionary tale about the dangers of neglecting maintenance and quality control in construction projects. The developers of these buildings were more focused on short-term profits than the long-term viability of their project. As a result, they lost millions of dollars, and the people of Kunming were left with a costly eyesore. Status Center, a $300 million disaster. Designed by renowned architect Frank Gehry, the Status Center was supposed to be a beacon of innovation and creativity for the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, campus. However, the building's unconventional walls and radical angles proved to be too impractical for its purpose, leading to numerous leaks, cracks, mold, and drainage problems. As a result, MIT had to spend an additional $1.5 million on repair, which they rightfully sued Gehry's office for. But after a lawsuit and an amicable settlement, the damage had already been done, and the building had earned its title as a $300 million disaster. 200 Clarendon Street, a billion-dollar disaster. Originally called the John Hancock Tower, 200 Clarendon Street was designed to be a modern symbol of sophistication for Boston. However, the tower's construction was plagued with problems from the very beginning. Initially estimated to cost $75 million, the final cost of construction ballooned to $175 million, or $850 million in today's money. And once the tower opened, the problems only continued. During the excavation process, temporary steel retaining walls were erected to create space. However, the designers didn't anticipate that the walls would warp under the clay and mud they were supposed to hold back. This caused the soil to shift, damaging utility lines, pavement, and nearby buildings. Trinity Church, for example, won an $11 million lawsuit against the tower's construction company. The final cost of this problem alone was $53 million in today's money. What had seemed like an innovative design idea, the use of blue reflective glass on the tower's external skeleton, turned out to be another flaw in the building's design. The blue glass panels began to detach and fall to the sidewalk without warning, endangering pedestrians below. This flaw was caused by repeated thermal stresses caused by the expansion and contraction of air between the building's inner and outer panels. All 10,344 panels had to be replaced, costing another $5 to $7 million, or up to $44 million in today's money. And if that wasn't enough, the tower's occupants began to suffer from motion sickness due to excessive swaying in the wind. To solve this problem, a tuned mass dampener was installed on the 58th floor, costing another $3 million, or $18.6 million in today's money. In total, the cost of all these problems adds up to more than $966 million today, making the 200 Clarendon Street building a $1 billion disaster. The world of architecture is one that is filled with awe-inspiring designs, breathtaking buildings, and innovative structures. From towering skyscrapers to modern art museums, the field of architecture has been responsible for some of the most incredible creations that humanity has ever seen. However, not all architectural projects go according to plan, and when things go wrong, the results can be catastrophic. To avoid architectural failures like these, it is important for architects to prioritize function over form. Buildings need to be designed with their intended purpose in mind, taking into account the practical considerations such as lighting, navigation, and maintenance. When architects prioritize form over function, they run the risk of creating buildings that are dangerous, impractical, and costly to maintain. So there you have it. These are just a few examples of the most expensive construction mistakes in the world. It's important to remember that mistakes can happen in any industry, but when it comes to construction, the consequences can be particularly costly. As always, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.